Pro Wrestling Weekly presents Today in Wrestling History, June 23. On this date in 1996, WWE held its King of the Ring pay-per-view. In the main event, Shawn Michaels defeated the British Bulldog to retain the World Wrestling Federation Championship. On this date in 1994, WCW held its Clash of the Champions 27 Supercard. In the main event, Ric Flair defeated Sting to unify the WCW International World Heavyweight Championship and the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. On this date in 2002, WWE held its King of the Ring pay-per-view. In the main event, The Undertaker defeated Triple H to retain the WWE Undisputed Championship. This has been Today in Wrestling History, June 23.
Hi, this is Jim Cornette, and you're listening to Pro Wrestling Weekly with Fearon on 1490 WBCB.
The one, the only, Jim Cornette. Thank you so much. Welcome back here to Pro Wrestling Weekly on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com, where we've had a lot to talk about between the broken down WWE roster, of course, the results of No Way Out, the Bound for Glory series, and the interesting reveal of the affair payoff over in TNA. And we've also had a little bit of phone trouble, and I'll check with Wild Bill Melody here, see if we want to give it another go here. All right. Ron has been hanging on ever so patiently. We've heard bits and pieces of him, but I don't think the connection's totally been up. Let's give it another try. Ron, welcome to Pro Wrestling Weekly.
Hello.
Yes, we got you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I can't hear you, though, but if I just put my radio so I can hear you better?
That should be fine, yeah.
Okay. All right. I know it's been a while since I talked to you. I just want to say one thing. You know how you say predictions are made to be wrong? Actually, me and Rappley were talking about this one, the John Laurinaitis situation. I thought for sure McMahon was going to screw John Cena. I had this gut feeling that, you're listening to a pay-per-view where McMahon's been in it, that he hasn't turned heel again. And I thought that was what was going to happen. And I was a little shocked. I was like, okay. John Laurinaitis, thank God we got rid of him. I got tired of him.
And then they proceeded to have him featured in 3 segments on Raw the next night.
Yeah, well, I just got tired of people power. And I was just saying, John Laurinaitis in that predicament. I was like, well, it's good. Let's hope Teddy Long comes back. Miss Teddy Long. Teddy Long, it was great what he did for Monday night when Teddy Long looked over John Cena and gave him the sign to do what he did. He did it. 100%
Certainly can't go wrong with that.
I'm just wondering what's going to happen there.
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, they are looking for a new interim general manager. Of course, they had Mick Foley on both Raw and SmackDown this week. They're looking to have Vicky Guerrero on the. They're gathering any and all of the former general managers. So, is it possible you'll see Shawn Michaels at some point? Since, of course, he was a commissioner. I don't know if he was a general manager. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
What do we expect for this 3-hour episode? That's the thing.
Which, the episode 1000, or do you mean, going forward with 1001, 1002, 1003?
What are we looking at? We're looking at something big?
Well, they're looking to make it something big. They're looking to have a lot of stars from the past and present. They've already advertised both Shawn Michaels and Triple H as DX coming back. Last I heard from a report, X-Pac of DX was not contacted, so it looks like they're just going to keep with the original 2. I don't even think they're going to bring China back for this one.
And what about Ric Flair? Because I just read on Bleacher Report that Ric Flair's been released from TNA.
Well, yeah, his contract was up, and he was talking about wanting to go back to the WWE, but right now there's a bit of a scandal going on, or not a scandal, a lawsuit. Sorry, I was looking down at my notes here with the affair scandal. No, there's a lawsuit going on between TNA and the WWE. There was a former employer of TNA who went over to WWE, who had inside information as far as contract lengths and things of that nature as well. Just inside information as far as contracts, and TNA saying, well, you're using this information to steal our talent. And that's been mired around in the courts for a little while.
I want to comment about something. In the pay-per-view, that one pay-per-view for TNA, I happened to saw Christian, and then the very next night he was on Raw. What's the deal on that? Is he going to stay with WWE? Or
Oh yeah, no, that was a prearranged one-night deal, kind of like how you had Ric Flair show up on WWE television for the Hall of Fame induction when the Four Horsemen were being inducted. The same type of deal. So Christian just went over for the 10-year Slammiversary. He was there just as kind of a look back, since for 3 of those 10 years, Christian was he was their champion for a while. He was definitely one of the faces of the franchise as Christian Cage. So that was kind of WWE's make good for saying, all right, thanks for giving us Flair. Here, we'll give you Christian for your Slammiversary.
See, I thought it would be like a breach in that, they say they can't wrestle for 90-day clause. I thought, here he's coming back, and then I'm thinking, bringing Christian in.
No, that was solely a one-night appearance.
Yeah, the fact that Christian, when he left at TNA, he left what? It was Bully Ray who put into a glass table. Was it table? That was the last time we saw Christian in TNA.
Yeah, they're not picking up any storylines with him. He was just rented for the night to kind of be honored as part of TNA's 10-year history.
I guess with me and Rockaway, we make our predictions wrong anymore.
Well, I was going to say, with the exception of this past pay-per-view where I got more of them wrong than right, I've actually been right more often than I've been wrong. A record that the Phillies wish they'd have at this point, 53-28, that's for sure. So I've certainly gotten quite a few of them right. So I don't know if that's me just, I have, been predicting myself, but it's just, I guess I'm wrong anymore. As far as the championship matches, they're not changing the belts that often anymore in pay-per-views. No, you don't see a lot of them, and that was, I guess, where I went wrong. I should have figured that CM Punk and Sheamus were going to retain, but I guess how much shifting around of the titles can you have with the minimal amount of main event guys, as I'd gone over a little bit earlier.
Yeah, is this the end of Eve and this David Otunga? Was that a package deal? They left to with John Lawrence with Kane.
Well, David Otunga's still around. It's just, I guess he's going to need to find some other storyline to latch onto. Maybe he'll side with, him being a lawyer. Maybe he'll be involved somehow in the Triple H, Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman type thing, since Otunga in real life is a lawyer. So, and obviously he has played one on TV. So
I did like their blast from the past with Cyndi Lauper. That with the fact that the record brought back memories of Lou Albano getting hit by Roddy Piper, but this time you see somebody else get hit with the record. That was like great stuff. I like what they're doing with Heath Slater, except it seems like every time he goes out there, he's a whipping boy for somebody, and that's that's kind of the one drawback. No, that's good stuff. I hope there's more of that.
We'll see. Anything to kind of get a lot of these guys out of that mid-card dreck and see if they can be elevated. Dolph Ziggler's kind of on that cusp, but for some reason he can't get that win to kind of elevate him into that status.
I like to push with him, making him the number one contender. That's great, but I just wish they get rid of Vicky Guerrero for that. Vicky Guerrero, he'd be better off without her. His career would be better. She's just something holding him back.
Well, he kind of needs that break. A lot of people over the last year or so have compared him being paired with Vicky Guerrero to Shawn Michaels being paired with Sensational Sherry back in '92. And then once he finally broke off onto his own, that's when he started to go to superstardom. But he needed that little bit of rub, a little bit of experience from Sherry, who, of course, was an accomplished women's wrestler in the 80s as well as a great manager in the 90s.
Well, I see the same scenario with her and him as I did when Edge was with her. It's like, Edge, at least Edge was a champion.
Yeah.
Dolph Ziggler's, he's ready.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting some other people to see that. He's getting a lot of cheers in the crowd, even though he's supposed to be a bad guy. So, there's definitely a lot of groundswell to kind of elevate him to that next level. Kind of makes me think back. I wonder, if
seeing some new blood as champion, and I'm glad to see Sheamus was. Sheamus has been there. Like you said, Randy Orton's on the shelf right now, and Mark Henry's not around. You need some new blood for the championship.
Absolutely, and thanks so much for the call. I'm going to get rolling here. A little bit of squeakage going on there. It's definitely they're in a position right now where anything that they can do to help help get some people in that main event area, especially since so many main event or former main event guys are out. I mean, Jericho's just coming back now. The Miz, although he's had a rough year to say the least, he's out filming the Marine, so maybe he'll come back fresh after filming the movie in a couple of months. Mysterio with the suspension, Mark Henry out with the surgery, Randy Orton suspended. So there's a lot of names there that certainly could help this roster, but of course they're all on the shelf right now. Anyway, let's see if we can get Ed up here with our look at the local scene. Ed, what's going on? It worked for one phone call. Yeah, it doesn't look like... All right, we'll have to see what's going on with that. Let's go ahead and take a look at some news and notes in the meanwhile. A little something interesting with TNA wrestler Eric Young. He's going to be hosting a show called Off the Hook Extreme Catches. That's going to be on Animal Planet. The show debuts on July 29th. That is 5 weeks from tomorrow. And will feature, quote, America's most bizarre, insane, and inventive fishing techniques. Wonder if they can get Eric Young on our Jim Slinsky's Outdoor Talk Network. It's here on Saturday mornings here on BCB. And some other wrestler TV news. WWE Tag Team Champion Kofi Kingston. He's going to appear on the season finale of Sci-Fi's Fact or Faked, Paranormal Files. And that'll, of course, be on Tuesday at 9 o'clock Eastern. Also, TNA filed a complaint. I know we've been talking... It feels like we've been talking lawsuits most of the hour. But TNA filing a complaint on Monday in a Davidson County courtroom asking for an injunction to prevent Scott Steiner from making, quote, disparaging remarks. TNA claims Steiner's comments violate a contract he signed in December 2010 that stipulates he is forbidden from making public statements, including tweeting, regarding TNA or its officers, wrestlers, or other individuals without approval. And to say the least, he's been ripping on Dixie Carter and, of course, Hulk and Brooke Hogan for quite a while. So interesting to see where that's going on. Now, we've been talking a little bit about the suspensions, and it looks like we've got at least some slight idea of when one individual is going to be coming back from that. WWE advertising Randy Orton for the July 30th Raw in Cincinnati, Ohio, and the July 31st SmackDown taping in Indianapolis, Indiana. He's also advertised for additional tapings and live events in August and beyond, including SummerSlam on August 19th. And the July 30th Raw, that seems to be the return date for Orton, as he was suspended for 60 days on May 30th. So fast forward 2 months, July 30th would be 60 days. And that would be when Orton would be eligible, presumably, to come back. And finally, again, back to the legal stuff. Liz Cena believing that WWE headliner John Cena cheated on her during their marriage. Attorney Raymond Raful told TMZ he and Liz have received tips that Cena was unfaithful and say that could be grounds for her to challenge the prenuptial agreement. Quote, we're definitely following up on every lead relative to his being unfaithful before and after the separation. So this is where things are starting to get a little bit nasty as far as the divorce proceedings between John and now former wife Liz Cena. We're going to go back to the phones here, Wild Bill. All right, who we got on here? I missed your comment there. Oh, we got John? Okay, let's see if we can get John up here. John, welcome to Pro Wrestling Weekly.
Can't hear.
Okay, we seem it's apparently an issue where we can hear them, but they can't necessarily hear us. But if it's the John that I think it is, he had a comment on the Facebook feedback, so I'm going to go ahead and read that here from a little bit ago. He said, with the Miami Heat winning the NBA championship, many people are pointing out the guys who ride the bench that didn't deserve to win one for basically being useless to the team. So in that regard, who were the WWE as well as Federation, WCW, TNA, ECW wrestlers who for some reason or another had a championship that many people just feel like they didn't deserve it when someone else should have had it? To sum it up, who are the most undeserving champions in wrestling history? That's a topic that could that could really that could take up a whole nother show. I mean, off the top of my head, you kind of look at Santino Marella and the U.S. title, and you kind of figure that's being unutilized or underutilized, to say the least. We'll have to. I'm going to kind of put that one in the bank. Maybe as we get a little bit closer to Money in the Bank, we'll take that out there and kind of throw that out there as a topic. Sandra chiming in, referring to Mike's comment earlier of who we think the next Raw and SmackDown GM is going to be. She thinks it's going to possibly be Austin, but believes her choices could possibly be Bret Hart. If Shawn was the commissioner back in the day, she'd like to see Shawn Michaels be the next Raw and SmackDown general manager. I don't know if he has the commitment for that. Plus, I think if it's a one-off appearance, that's one thing, but I think if he's too close for too long, that itch to get back in the ring will be something that he wouldn't be able to avoid scratching. So something tells me that Shawn wouldn't do that just for that, because he knows he's either got to be all out or all in. So if he's staying out of the business, the occasional appearance here or there, not wrestling, like he's going to be on that July 23rd Raw, the 3-hour special, the kickoff of the permanent 3-hour editions of Raw. But I don't see him coming back on a weekly, twice a week basis as a general manager. Good old Rat Boy chiming in. He thinks that Eric Bischoff will be the general manager. I don't know. With Eric still at least underemployed behind the scenes in TNA, I don't know how likely that is. Plus, how good would it be to have son Garrett Bischoff in TNA and Eric back in the WWE? I don't know. Anything is certainly possible, to say the least. Although then again, this is Rat Boy, so who knows with his suggestions. Definitely hard to say. Another comment just coming in here. Randy Orton, John throwing in as the most undeserving champion. That's a bit of a polarizing. I mean, he certainly has the pedigree, being a third generation wrestler, but he has been known to cause a good amount of trouble. And that's obviously shown with the numerous different suspensions, and obviously he's in the midst of one now. Of course, before the wellness policy, he still had some varying issues when he was younger, in his early to mid-20s, I'd say. So, I don't know about undeserving. I mean, has he deserved all of the championships he's gotten? I don't know. You could say that other people are more deserving. But, I mean, the landscape has changed so much between when he first came in 2002, 2003, and now. There are a lot of things you could kind of look back at with that. So it's definitely hard to say. Speaking of Rat Boy, Bob chiming in with, our luck, the phones will work fine when Rat Boy calls in. A little bit of... got Bill Melody laughing at that one. Oh, goodness. And one more little bit of Facebook feedback. Oh, that's right. Referencing to Eric Bischoff, John chiming in. He was fired from that job before by way of trash truck in that infamous Raw, with a little bit of probably the most infamous judge sequence in quite a while, to say the least. Anyway, that's going to just about do it for this week. Now, as I said, next week is going to be interesting. We're going to be taking a look at the Chris Benoit saga 5 years later, that, of course, that infamous tragic weekend, and what effect it's had on wrestling since then, how it's kind of been the cause, kind of the end of the ruthless aggression era, and kind of ushering into, I don't know, the continuation of the John Cena era. I don't know what era you want to, the Twitter era, perhaps. That's certainly one way to look at this era, but yeah, the issues that Chris Benoit and that infamous weekend had, we'll look back, get some audio from that weekend, and do something that WWE probably won't ever do, and that's acknowledge and make mention of Chris Benoit. Look back on his career, maybe some favorite matches, and unfortunately that news-filled weekend that definitely took the wrestling world by storm 5 years ago tomorrow. But we'll look at it all next week here on Pro Wrestling Weekly. We'll also look at the further developments for the upcoming pay-per-views, Destination X and Money in the Bank. So far, one match already set up for Destination X. Bobby Roode defending the TNA World Heavyweight Championship against Austin Aries. And over on the Money in the Bank side, no match is officially announced, although Big Show did say on SmackDown last night that he was going to be an entrant in the Money in the Bank ladder match. It's yet to be determined if there's going to be one for Raw and one for SmackDown, or if there's just going to be one Money in the Bank ladder match for the pay-per-view. That's going to do it for me. We've got a remote coming up, of course, from the School of Rock over in Newtown. And then following that, I believe, Bill, they totally taking you off, or? No, intermittent. Oh, intermittent. Okay, so we'll have the country music. We'll have a little bit of country and a little bit of rock and roll, apparently, for the next couple of hours. And then, of course, we've got Phillies baseball, the Phillies and Rays. They've got one today, and then they've got a pair tomorrow. So it should be an interesting series, a rematch of the 2008 World Series. That'll do it for me. Bill Melody and the School of Rock are all next, and I'll be back with a Chris Benoit discussion here next week on Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB.